أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعن الله الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من ليلتنا هذه إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected brothers and sisters, we've gathered here on this night of the 20th of the Shahr Ramadan to commemorate the martyrdom anniversary of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. My condolences to the Imam of our time and to all of you on this tragic occasion. The time period between the 19th of the Shahr Ramadan and the 23rd of the month is a very special time. Even though we've been told in tradition that the night of Qadr is on one of the odd nights, and in particular towards the last portion of the month, in particular the 19th, 21st, and 23rd. Our great scholars and spiritual masters have always emphasized the entire time period from the 19th to the 23rd as a special time of devotion, reflection, contemplation, and especially tawassul, meaning that we know we cannot get anywhere on our own. We're completely and utterly dependent on other than us to be able to succeed in anything. And when we're looking for those means by which we can attain success, we know that we want to turn to the firmest and hold on to the firmest of grips and the firmest of handholds, al-urwatul wuthqa. And that is none other than the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So in particular, tawassul to the Ahlul Bayt, in particular, tawassul to the Imam of our time and to Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam during these 5 days is particularly been recommended by our great scholars. Inshallah, we can take advantage of this important and key advice that we have from them. Brothers and sisters, our topic has been the love of Allah, or ishq. Ishq meaning an intense, arduous, passionate love for Allah. And the hadith that we chose as a theme for the series is the hadith from Imam Ali himself, where he says, حُبُّ اللَّهِ نَارٌ لَا يَمُرُّ عَلَى شَيْءٍ إِلَّا احْتَرَقَ. The love of Allah is like a fire where anything that crosses its path, it will consume it and it will burn it. And this is a very powerful analogy for us to understand this blessing that is attainable for us, that we've been told to attain, and what would happen if we could attain this blessing from Allah, which is having His love burn brightly in our hearts. Today I have, I know we had a late night last night and maybe people are a bit tired, so today I have a lot of good stories. I also have some important points, but these stories inshallah are very useful for us because they get us to reflect and they connect us with the material we're speaking about. So I want to begin tonight with a story from the life of Imam Ali himself. When Imam Ali was in Kufa, there are two of his companions who were kind of serving as his servants or bodyguards or what may be. One of them is Habba, the other one is Nauf al-Bukali or al-Bikali. And they say that one time we were sleeping in the courtyard of Darul Imara, meaning the government palace in Kufa. Maybe you've seen it if you've gone to Masjid Kufa, it's right in that same area. After midnight, they say that we saw Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam quietly coming from inside the government home towards the courtyard, but he was in an unusual state. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali was, very strong and very composed. But they say that in this situation, we saw him unable to maintain his balance. His hand was against the wall, and he was bent over. With the help of the wall, he was taking one step by another step. Now, what's going on here? Why would Imam Ali not be able to walk straight? Then they heard him reciting these same ayahs that were recited at the beginning of our jalasa from Surah Ali Imran, which are recommended to be recited when we wake up in the morning. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafi al-layli wan nahar la ayatin li ulil albab. Indeed, in the changing of the night and the day, there are signs for those who possess intellect, those who remember Allah and they reflect when they're standing, when they're sitting, when they're on their sides, and they conclude, Rabbana ma khalaqta hada batila. Oh our Lord, you have not created this in vain. Subhanaka faqina adhab an-nar. Glory be to you, protect us from the punishment of the fire. And so on. So there's like maybe 4 or 5 du'as that are given to us in Surah Ali Imran, starting from verse 190 to 194. They said that he kept on repeating these verses. He would start, he would go to the end, and he would repeat it again and again and again. And they were so moved by this scene, both the visual of Imam Ali alayhi salam being like that and what he was saying, that they couldn't sleep. And one of them was just shocked, and the other one, Nauf, he said that I couldn't stop crying. When Imam Ali salam came near Habba, he asked him, he said, are you asleep or are you awake? And Habba says that, oh Ali, I'm awake, and I'm just thinking that if this is you and we're us, then what's our situation going to be like? And then Imam Ali salam lowered his eyes and he wept, and he said, this is the point here. We're talking about love of Allah. He says, oh Habba, we will all be held before God one day, and none of our deeds are hidden from Him. He is closer to me and you than our jugular vein, and nothing can separate us from Allah. So this is the passion that Imam Ali has, that presential knowledge that he has of Allah. Then he goes to Nauf and he says, Nauf, are you asleep? He says, no, I'm awake, but I've been crying for a while. And then he says, oh Nauf, if you cry much today, then tomorrow your eyes will be bright, meaning in the hereafter. And he says other things. And then finally he makes a dua. He says that, لَيْتَ الشِّعْرِ فِي غَفَلَاتِي أَمُعْرِضٌ أَنْتَ عَنِّي أَمْ نَاظِرٌ إِلَيَّ. Oh God, I wish I knew, when I'm in a state of neglect to you, when I forget about you, do you turn away from me or do you still pay attention to me? وَلَيْتَ الشِّعْرِ فِي طُولِ مَنَامِي وَقِلَّةِ الشُّكْرِ. Oh Allah, when I'm just asleep, to this reality of your presence, and I'm not even acknowledging you, I'm just lost, I'm asleep. And when I fall short in my gratitude to you, then what is my situation with you? Ma hali fi ni'amika alayya ma hali. What's my situation? So this is the type of conversation he's having with Allah. Point being that Imam alayhi salam is one of these examples of somebody whose heart was filled with love of Allah. And when we talk about the various aspects of Imam Ali's greatness, one of them is this, that can give us inspiration and motivation to try to search for this love of Allah. Now, to go back to the topic, we have divided into 3 sections. One of them is talking about the value of love of Allah. Why is it something which is important? Number 2 is how can we achieve it? Number 3 is if somebody is able to achieve it, how does their life change? We are pretty much done with what I wanted to cover for the first thing, which is that why is this valuable? And we gave a few reasons. Number 1 was because it's emphasized in the Quran and by the Ahlul Bayt. Number two is because it makes logical sense to go for something which is finite and to love that which is, to love that which is not transient, but rather that which is permanent, right? Why would we want to attach our hearts to things which are, transient? We want to go for that which is like Allah is baq, Allah is forever, everlasting. And the third one, which we covered last night, which was another logical argument, which is that why would we want to be obsessed with the reflection of beauty and comfort and power and knowledge when we can look at the source and find our passion and obsession with the source, which is Allah? And we said that that doesn't mean that we can't love other than Allah, but our love for other than Allah should be emanating from our love from Allah. And there are ways of doing this. When it comes to our love of our family members, love of our possessions, it can be done as long as it's in the shadow of the love of Allah. Now tonight I want to start to talk about the concept of how to achieve the love of Allah. So now we're getting closer to the practical discussion. But in order to do that, there's an important distinction we have to make about two types of love. Okay, so what are the two types of love? One of them is called indirect love, and the second one is called direct love. Now, what is the difference between these two? First of all, we want to say that most of the love that we experience towards other people or other things is of the indirect nature. It's not of the direct nature. And in order to understand what it means to have direct love, we're going to have to use some analogies and get us to think a little bit deeper. But let's talk about this. What does it mean, first of all, to have indirect love? Indirect love is when somebody loves somebody not because of them, but rather because of something that they have or something that they give. Think back to the most popular kids in your class. Why were they most popular? Right? Was it because of the strength of their character? Or was it because of something that they had that other people were attracted to? They were the best at math. They were the most eloquent. They were the most gifted in terms of their looks. They were the best at sports, right? Whatever it may be. There's these markers that people are attracted to, and that's what draws them towards those people who typically are most popular. I'm talking about just in general. Now let's say that thing which made them popular were to, in the eyes of the common masses, were to be lifted from them. Somehow they lost it. That star sports player, for example, something happened and they had to get crutches. They were on crutches for a while, right? And they lost their sports ability. Would they still maintain their status of being in that position? A lot of times, what attracts us is a certain quality or something that we're getting from somebody. Normal human attraction, right, is often on the basis of something which is very superficial, right? That physical characteristics were appealing to a person, so therefore they found true love. They fell madly in love because they were physically attracted to each other. And then what happens is that when they actually get to know each other, sometimes they realize that, that was something, but that's just one part of an entire package. And just because there was initial physical attraction doesn't mean that there is actually a deep chemistry of the souls. It's one of the things, just to diverge and digress just a bit, in the hadith that we have, the ahadith we have regarding finding a spouse, this concept is actually referred to. We're supposed to think about this. For example, we're told that somebody who marries somebody just because of their looks or just because of their possessions, they will not have neither those looks nor those possessions. But if somebody marries somebody because of the type of practice of deen that they have, Okay, not the formal commitment to the deen. That's one thing. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm Muslim. I'm a Muslim, I follow the Shia madhab, for example. No. Another thing, which is, what is your actual deen? What is the path that you take in your life? And the ahadith say that if you take and you see what deen somebody follows and you take them as a partner on account of that, then you will not only be given in what you're looking for, but you'll be given the wealth and you'll be given that beauty as well. Why? Is it because beauty is to be ignored and it's not important? Not at all. Beauty is very important. But beauty is much more than just a physical characteristic. And so we're taught to think beyond this, right? Don't be tricked by what you call love for something which is very something which is overall maybe important but not the whole thing. Why is it that, for example, let's say somebody does something good for us, right? They, at a time of need, they reach out and they offer, certain help. They take us in, they cook us food. Why is it that we might develop love in our hearts towards them? It's because of the gesture of kindness that they did to us at that time of need. And sometimes what happens through experience that initially we're very thankful for them, we're praying for them, like Laylatul Qadr comes around, we make a special dua for them. The next year we're thinking back, we're like, I have to pray for all these mu'mineen, I'm going to pray for them as well. But 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, right? Because they're no longer in that position of giving us something, we might lose the love that we had for them at that time. This is called love through a medium or indirect love. We're loving somebody on account of something that they have or something that they give us. Sometimes this happens even with children when it comes to their parents. And it's one of the saddest things. There's a certain time when a child is not only somewhat needy on their parents, they are 100% needy on their parents in order to survive. But Allah Ta'ala has created a system, and the system is such that as the child grows, they become less and less needy of their parents, and there's a certain point of reversal. And after that, there's no point of return, after which the parents become more needy of the child, and the child is on the parents. There's a story that's told from the time of our Prophet Nabi Musa alayhi salam ala nabiyina wa alayhi salam, where Allah tells him that go to a certain mountain. And what's the story of what's happening at that mountain? There's a young man who has now matured, and he was very arrogant and very selfish. And he had gotten to the point where his mother, who could no longer move, was a burden for him. So what he did is he said that, okay, I'm busy, right? I'm going to take my mother and I'm going to place her at the top of a mountain and I'm going to leave her there. And so he does that. He goes to the top of the mountain where there's wild beasts and all sorts of dangers, and he leaves his mother at the top of the mountain. And as he's leaving, his mother makes a dua for him. And what does she say? She says that, okay, he's making his way down a slippery mountain and there's wild beasts in the area. Oh Allah, protect him from slipping and protect him from being devoured by those wild beasts. So what does Allah say to Nabi Musa? Allah says to Musa, go see what's happening there. Go and see that love that this mother has for her child. And know that the love that Allah has for His creation is more than that love the mother has for her own child. And you can see here, brothers and sisters, both types of love here. The love that the son had for his mother was an indirect love. He loved her for some time because she was providing for him. He needed her. But as that need went away, what was his mother to him? Right? Just a burden. So he leaves her. But the mother's love for a child typically is such that no matter what that child has or what they do, what they look like, whatever condition they're in, even if they do injustice to the mother, as in this example right here, she doesn't love the child because of what the child is giving her or what the child is doing to her or some characteristic the child has, but rather because of the child themselves. It's called pure, direct, unadulterated love. And it's not easy to come by. You know what's another example of that type of love? That direct love? It's the love that a believer can have for another believer. You know, it's very interesting that in our traditions, we're told about this special type of love, where one of the companions of Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he goes to him and he says that something strange happened to me. I went to a gathering, I met somebody, and I never have seen him before. He never saw me, but I found this intense love in my heart towards him. And I saw that he had that same affection for me as well. It's like as if we had been best friends for like, I don't know, many, many years, but I never knew him before. And the Imam ﷺ says that, oh, his name is Sadir. Sadir, you've spoken the truth. This type of love that can be found between the hearts of believers is something from God. And he gives an example. He says that, when rain falls from the sky, it can be falling from different regions. But let's say it's falling down on the same river. As soon as it falls down on the river, it becomes one body. That's the way that Allah places the hearts of believers, that they can be united in one in just an instant. But when it comes to the fujjar and the people of sinfulness and the people of wretchedness and evil, for them, Imam alayhi salam explains, he says that it's as if you have, let's say, two animals that are grazing next to each other for many years on the same field, right? They're in the same pasture. They sleep at the same time at night. They get up early in the morning at the same time. They're on the same pasture, taken care of by the same shepherds, but their hearts are completely disjoint. There's nothing which combines the two together. They say that Salman al-Farisi al-Muhammadi, the great companion of our Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Salman was not an ordinary companion. He was a very special man. One time he was walking in the streets and there was a commotion. And he went to see what it was all about. And the people, when they saw him, they said, Salman, come help us. There's something we need you for. There's this young man, it seems like he's lost it. And he's gone through a seizure, and maybe you can say some words which will help him gain his shifa and his health. So they clear the way for him, and Salman bends down and he sees a young man who's lying on the ground. And when the young man, when he comes near him, to put his face near him, the young man opens his eyes and he recognizes Salman. He says, Salman, what these people think of me, that's not what it is. I'm not sick. He knew who Salman was, and he knew he could explain to him the reason why he had fainted and he was in that situation. He says that, oh Salman, as I was walking in the bazaar, I passed by the blacksmiths, and the blacksmiths were ironing, the metal with these hammers. And when I heard the hammers, suddenly my heart went to the ayah of the Quran in which Allah says, وَلَهُ مَقَامِعُ مِنْ حَدِيدٍ كُلَّمَا أَرَادُوا أَن يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا. For them there are maces of iron. Whenever they want to leave there, أُعِيدُوا فِيهَا, they will be turned back into it. What is that referring to? It's talking about these people, and it's a very difficult ayahs to read. Right? There are some people who will have trapped themselves in their own hell. Even if they want to be able to get out of the hellfire, they won't be able to. They've lost that humanness in them to be able to even get out of the hellfire. كُلَّمَا أَرَادُوا أَن يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا أُعِيدُوا فِيهَا. They're just going to be sent right back into it. and there will be clubs for each of them, and the angels will be holding those clubs, and when they try to get out, they will be met by those clubs. So this man was thinking about this ayah, and he fell unconscious. And Salman says something. He says that when he heard the young man, now this is the first time they're meeting, he's on the ground in the bazaar, and he barely has said a few sentences. Salman says that I found a deep love in my heart towards this young man. And from that time onwards, he became Salman's friend. And Salman would visit him often. And then the story continues that one day the young man fell ill, and Salman went to visit him and take care of him, and he saw that, slowly he was basically leaving this world. And he saw that, okay, now the time had come for him to die. Now look at the status of Salman, right? Salman addresses Malik al-Maut, and he tells him, "O Malik al-Maut, urfuq bi, like bihi," meaning that be kind to him because he's my friend. Right? Imagine somebody can actually tell Malik al-Maut what to do. Right? He's not even like one of the ma'asumin. And what does Malik al-Maut do? He responds to Salman and he says that, "O Salman, ana bi kulli mu'minin rafiq." With every mu'min, I'm rafiq. I am gentle with them. Right? But this story is one of those which just shows us that, there's a type of love that can be formed between two individuals which goes way beyond these type of worldly things that sometimes people put so much importance on. They build profiles off of them. They build fan clubs off of them. People, spend so much money pursuing these like silly little things, where real love is something which is much deeper than that. And we're told in hadith that if you ever have the opportunity and you find somebody that you can take as a friend in that way, then you should know that you've been given something very, very rare. Right? It's not an easy thing to come by. A friend like that, where it's just a friend because of who they are. It's not about what they give you, what characteristics they might have, how they look, or how fast they can run, or how high they can jump, etc. It's because of who they are. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So brothers and sisters, we have these two types of love. There is one love which is the love which is indirect, and the love which is direct. And the question that I want to pose for tonight is, what type of love should we have for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam? And then inshallah tomorrow, if Allah gives us tawfiq, we want to talk about how to apply this concept to the love of Allah. But I want to draw towards a conclusion by just focusing on this question, that what kind of love should we have for the Ahlul Bayt? Oftentimes, what attracts us to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam is love through an indirect means. Meaning what? How did most of us find our love for the likes of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam? Right? We heard those incredible stories of his bravery and his honesty and his justice and etc., and we're like, subhanallah, right? This is amazing. I mean, who else can stand in the battlefield, right, and have no horse and say that I'm not ever one to have to run away from the battle, but bring me what you want, but I'm never going to run away from here. I don't need a horse, right? And I mean, just so many things. We're attracted by the beauty that they have, the spiritual beauty. We're attracted by the way that they represented Allah's cause. We're attracted by the type of musibah that they went through. Right? I mean, when you see somebody suffering, it's something, but when you see somebody who is a person of Allah and suffering in so many ways, that attracts you. It builds love in your heart towards them. Sometimes what attracts us towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam is what we get from them. For example, many of you probably have had hajat, you've had some need that you had, and you presented it in a special time or in a special way or in a special place to one of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam, and if you tracked it, you'll see that one way or another, that thing which you wanted, either that came to you or something better. And of course, that creates love in our hearts towards them. Like I know people, right, who had problems that people said could never be solved, and it was taken care of by one ziyarah trip to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So these create love in our hearts towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But brothers and sisters, imagine for just a moment if that love if those things weren't there, okay? You never got a hajat taken care of from them. You didn't know about the stories, right? Like maybe the masaib that were there, maybe you weren't aware of them, for example. Would you still have that connection to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Like when you say salam to the Imam of the time, are you saying salam to him because of what he can give you, or are you saying salam to him because of your connection to him? أين السبب المتصل بين الأرض والسماء. He's the connection between the earth and the heavens. Right? Everything that comes our way that's of any goodness is through the channel of the Imam of our time. He's a source of bikum wara. By means of you, all of creation is given its sustenance. This is what we told in the ziyarat. Everything is sustained and sourced from them. So when we start to think about love from that dimension, that I'm not loving you just because of the musibah that you went through, or just because of those fadail that you demonstrate that I yearn for, or just because of the things I've gotten from you. I love you because of you, right? This is where our connection with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam can take on a deeper level. I'm going to end with a story here, which is something gives us hope, because we're looking for hope on these nights. It's a great story. It's from Al-Kafi, narrated from the 6th Imam alayhi salam. He says that, peace and salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. He says that there was a man at the time of our Prophet who had a peculiar habit. Every day when he would go to work, he used to sell oil in the bazaar. Every day before he would go to sell his oil, he would go and he would just look at the Prophet. That's it. He wouldn't ask him anything, right? He wouldn't talk to him. He would just look at the Prophet. And it became a well-known thing that when that man comes, everyone knows that all he wants to do is get a glimpse of the Prophet. So the Prophet would actually make sure that he would be visible when that man would come around, because he obviously wanted to give him what he's looking for. And then one day, the man comes and wants to take his look at the Prophet. The Prophet shows him his face, and then he goes on towards the bazaar, but then he comes back. And he comes and wants to see the Prophet again. So the Prophet sees him a second time, and this time he beckons him towards him. He says, come here. Please sit down. He says that today you did something that you've never done before. Every day you come, you look at me, and then you go away. Today you went and you came back again. What happened today? So the man said that, Ya Rasulullah, you're right. Right? Every day I find this need in myself for you. And so by looking at you, my need is taken care of and I can go about my day's work. But today, when I left you, I found myself in a kind of lost, right? And I felt the need to reconnect with you. So I came back again. So the Prophet, smiled at him, he made a dua for him, and he saw the man off. And then a few days pass, and the man is not to be seen. So the Prophet tells his companions, he says that, let's go, let's find out what happened to this oil seller. So they all put on their sandals, they make their way towards the bazaar, and they go to the section where oil is being sold. And the Prophet asks, where's this man stand? And he goes there and he sees that it's empty. So he asks the sellers nearby, he said, what happened to this man who was selling oil here? They said that a couple days ago was the last day he came, and he has now left this world. He died. So our Prophet was very saddened. They go on, they say that, this man was a great man. He was very truthful. He was very honest. He was a very good, businessman. But, Ya Rasulullah, he did have some faults, and they mentioned some things about him. And what does our Prophet say? Our Prophet says that this man died with deep love of us in our hearts. Whatever those things that he was doing, Allah will most definitely forgive them. So this type of love for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, just love, right? This is who they are. This is what they deserve. That is something which is very valuable. Inshallah, one of the things we can take away from tonight's speech. Please say salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight we want to commemorate the tragedy of the martyrdom of the Imam of our time, the Imam alayhi salam, who's we are commemorating at this time. And as we do so, we want to make sure that we remember the tragedies that are being faced throughout the Ummah right now in different parts of this world, in Palestine, in Yemen, in Syria. It's a very dark time for all people of conscience and those who have a heart. Inshallah, we hope that the tears that we shed will be a source of Allah's mercy descending and being a source of comfort for all those who are the madhlumeen. Sallallahu alayka ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallallahu alayka ya Abul Hasan. Peace and blessings be upon you, O Imam al-Muttaqeen, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, O Sayyid al-Wasin, O Wali Allah, Mawlana Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. What a state to be struck in the house of Allah, when worshipping Allah, standing towards Qibla, in complete devotion to the one who is His beloved. When Imam Ali alayhi salam is struck by the poisoned sword, he cries out, Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. This is what Allah and His Messenger had promised. He takes some of the earth from the ground, He puts it in His beard, which has now been mixed with His own blessed blood. He quotes the ayah from the Quran, Minha khalaqnakum wa fiha nu'idukum wa minha nukhrijukum taratan ukhra. It is from this earth Allah has created us, into it we will be returned, and once again we will emerge from it. Sometimes Imam Ali alayhi salam would be seen wiping the blood from his face. He would sometimes be leaning, sometimes he would be resting. Imam Hassan alayhi salam was by his side. He's crying out, "Oh, my back is broken. Oh, my father, by Allah, it is very hard for me to see you like this." Imam Ali alayhi salam opened his eyes. He says to Hassan, "Oh Hassan, do not be distressed for your father after today. Oh Hassan, you should know that this is your grandfather Muhammad al-Mustafa, and your grandmother Khadijatul Kubra, and your mother Fatimatul Zahra. They are waiting for your father's arrival." And then we see that Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he says to Hassan, "By the Lord of Kaaba, O people, don't let Ibn Muljim escape." But when they find Ibn Muljim, how does Imam Ali alayhi salam, what does he tell the people? He tells them that, look at Ibn Muljim, don't make the chains on his hands too tight. Give him something to drink from which you drink. When you eat something, give him something to eat. If I die, then do not mutilate his body. Look at the justice that Imam Ali alayhi salam shows to the one who has struck him. You know, we're told, brothers and sisters, that at our deathbed we will be visited by two individuals. One of them will be Rasulullah, the other one will be Amirul Mu'mineen. If this is how kind Imam Ali alayhi salam is to his enemy, how much hope can we have of how kind he will be to us at that day? Then Imam Ali alayhi salam, he turns to Ibn Muljim. He asks him, Ya Hada, oh so and so, you have come to something great indeed. I have a question for you. Was I a bad Imam to you that you have treated me like this? Look at how Imam Ali alayhi salam is referring to him. That was it something I did? Was I unjust? Did I not fulfill my role as the Imam in the way that you had wanted, that you should strike me in this type of way? Of course, Ibn Muljam la'natullahi alayhi has no way to answer the Imam. In fact, he had put so much poison in that sword that had struck him that that poison could have killed all the people of Kufa. This is the state of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And now he says to the people that by Allah, that this is not something which is distasteful to me. Dying in the way of Allah, giving in the way of Allah, sacrificing in the way of Allah, this is not something which is difficult. Rather, Shahada in the way of Allah has always been my desire. And what is better for me than to die in the state of worshipping Allah? Brothers and sisters, we remember Imam Ali alayhi salam turning to Ibn Muljam and asking him these questions. It reminds us, and let us go now to the day of Ashura, where Imam Hussein alayhi salam is addressing the army of Ibn Ziyad, and he is telling them, he's saying that, do you not know who I am? Do you not know who my grandfather was? Do you not know that my mother was Fatima al-Zahra? Don't you know that my father was Ali ibn Abi Talib? Don't you know that my uncle was Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, the one who was martyred and given 2 wings to fly in paradise? Don't you recognize this cloak that I am wearing? It is the Aba of Rasulullah. Will you still come and attack me? Will you still come and fight me? Do you still wish to spill my blood? But they do not listen to him. And even when he is doing his salah, they continue to attack, and they choose that moment to come to attack the grandson of Rasulullah, and they fire their arrows. And there are some who will stand guard, and one of them will ask Imam Hussein alayhi salam that, oh Sayyidi, I have a question for you. Was I faithful to you? Did I fulfill my responsibility to you? And the Imam tells him, Na'am anta amami fil Jannah. Yes, in fact, you will be preceding me when you enter Jannah. Ala la'anatullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalabin yanqalibun. We ask Allah Ta'ala to accept this majlis from us and this remembrance. We ask Him to make us among those who are counted amongst the lovers of Ali alayhi salam, and not, inshallah, just not the lovers but also his followers. We ask Allah Ta'ala, by the sake of the holiness of the month of Ramadan and the Quran, and for the sake of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to grant the believers their hajat. There are many who are ill, and there are some in our community who are very ill, including one young man who's battling cancer. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give him shifa. For the sake of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and O Allah, we ask you concerning those who are oppressed, O Allah, grant them victory over the oppressors. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time with the barakah of as-salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Inshallah, come a little closer, inshallah. Oh, you orphans, why are you here? Oh, you orphans, why are you here? What has happened that you shed tears? Has your father not come tonight? He is not well, do not come near. He is not well, do not come near. Oh, you orphans, why are you here? What has happened that you shed tears? Has your father not come tonight? He is not well, do not come near. We will all be orphans if he leaves us. Without him, who else can come relieve us? To be far away from him, it grieves us. Ya Ali, we will all be orphans if he leaves us. Without him, who else can come relieve us? To be far away from him, it grieves us. Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali. MashaAllah. In this month the Prophet he said, in this month the Prophet he said, a warrior he was truly brave, but in the darkness how lonely. Who will come place him in his grave? In this month the Prophet he said, a warrior he was truly brave, but in the darkness how lonely. Who will come place him in his grave? He was struck by the sword, but I'm thankful. He was struck by the sword, but I'm thankful. His daughters were not watching, I'm thankful. There were no spears, so I am thankful. Ya Ali, he was struck by the sword, but I'm thankful. His daughters were not watching, I'm thankful. There were no spears, so I am thankful. Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Haydar. ما شاء الله يا علي يا علي حيدر 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 Your voices حيدر 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 You are the truth and the truth is with you. Jibreel said there's no hero but you, and at Ghadir the Prophet declared you as the Mawla of us all, Ya Haydar. Haydar, 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 MashaAllah. Haydar, 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 Haydar. Haydar, 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 Haydar. Haydar, 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 Haydar. The needy of Kufa realize tonight. The needy of Kufa realize tonight. No more will Haydar come with food at night. And the orphans have lost their only light. From now we all are orphans of Haydar. Haydar, 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 MashaAllah. Haydar, Haydar, Haydar. Haydar, 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 Haydar. From his forehead, blood still pours down his face. From his forehead, blood still pours down his face. He spends his time thanking God for his grace. And for Hussein, he gives a long embrace, knowing that will come for him. Haydar, 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 oh, Haydar, 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 Haydar. In Karbala, all alone in the field. In Karbala, all alone in the field. Surrounded on all sides, but he won't yield. Surrounded on all sides, but he won't yield. They hit him with arrows, spears, and now shields. They hit him with arrows, spears, and now shields. Zainab watching, helpless, crazy, Ya Haydar. Haydar, 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 Haydar. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا سيد الوصي. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى التسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شيخ القرآن، أجرى الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الرحمن الرحيم مالك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم. صدق الله العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على رسول الله، على رسول الله وآله. اللهم صل على رسول الله، على رسول الله وآله.